Have you ever wondered how a legitimate NASA drilling platform ended up looking like it was designed by someone having a fever dream about moon buggies? Everyone remembers the Armadillo from Armageddon as that chunky space tank that somehow managed to drill into an asteroid while dodging flying space rocks. Most people think it's pure Hollywood fantasy, some ridiculous contraption cooked up in a writer's room. Wrong. Dead wrong. This beast was actually based on real NASA concepts for planetary drilling operations. The space agency had genuine blueprints for machines exactly like this, designed to bore into alien worlds and extract samples. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The movie version was built so accurately that NASA engineers actually used it as a reference model for future projects. When you discover what fact number 1 reveals about the Armadillo's shocking real-world legacy in actual space missions, you'll realize science fiction became science fact. Hit like and subscribe because this rabbit hole goes straight to mission control. Fact 22. The Armadillo name came late in production. The hulking industrial mining vehicle that saved humanity in Armageddon wasn't always called the Armadillo. Throughout most of the production, the screenplay simply referred to it as the Rover, a forgettable, generic name that lacked the punch Michael Bay was looking for. It wasn't until the final months before release that the production team settled on Armadillo to capture the vehicle's distinctive armored appearance and rolling capability. This last-minute naming decision demonstrates how crucial these seemingly small details are to creating iconic movie vehicles. The psychology behind choosing Armadillo was brilliant. It instantly conveyed defensive capability, toughness, and a distinctly American frontier quality. The name perfectly captured the machine's low-profile, armored aesthetic with its protective shell and ability to navigate treacherous terrain. Imagine if they'd stuck with the Rover. We'd be discussing a completely different cultural legacy today. Fact 21. Model miniatures were used for destruction scenes. Despite Armageddon being at the dawn of the CGI revolution, Michael Bay insisted on using practical effects whenever possible. While the full-scale Armadillo vehicles were used for actor interactions and driving sequences, the production team relied on meticulously crafted miniatures for the most spectacular destruction scenes. These scale models, built at approximately 1.6 ratio, allowed the effects team to create convincing asteroid crashes and slow-motion carnage without destroying their multi-million-dollar full-size props. The miniature work was so seamlessly integrated with the full-scale vehicle photography that most viewers never noticed the transition. The practical effects supervisors found that real explosions, even with tiny models, created more convincing debris patterns and lighting effects than the early CGI alternatives available in 1998. This commitment to tangible physical effects is why the Armadillo destruction sequences still look impressive today, while many CGI-heavy films from the same era appear dated and artificial. Fact 20. Set decorators used real lunar dust simulants. To achieve authentic-looking space grime on the Armadillo's exterior, the set decoration team went to extraordinary lengths. Rather than using standard Hollywood dirt, they sourced actual lunar dust simulants developed for NASA training operations. This specialized material accurately mimics the abrasive, non-atmospheric weathering that would occur on an asteroid's surface. The obsessive attention to realistic weathering extended to how the vehicle was lit on set. The decorators worked closely with the cinematography team to ensure the space dust caught the harsh, shadowless lighting that would exist in deep space. By using scientifically accurate materials rather than generic movie grime, the Armadillo achieved a distinctive weathered appearance that differed substantially from typical post-apocalyptic vehicles. The difference between standard movie dirt and space-accurate regolith might seem subtle, but it's these minor details that created the Armadillo's believable extraterrestrial presence. Fact 19. Bruce Willis loved driving it but wasn't allowed. Bruce Willis, known for performing many of his own stunts, became enamored with the massive Armadillo during production. According to crew interviews, he repeatedly asked to drive the 15-ton behemoth during actual filming. However, the production insurance policies categorically prohibited A-list actors from operating such heavy machinery, regardless of their enthusiasm or driving skills. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Here was Willis, playing a character specifically chosen for his drilling expertise, being banned from operating the very vehicle that represented his character's professional mastery. Instead, specialized stunt drivers handled all the hero moments, while Willis got the close-ups inside the stationary cockpit. This behind-the-scenes restriction created some amusing workarounds, with Willis sometimes being filmed in a completely stationary vehicle, while dozens of crew members rocked it manually to simulate movement. Fact 18. The steering wheel came from a Kenworth truck. The Armadillo's distinctively oversized steering wheel wasn't a custom fabrication but an authentic component sourced directly from a Kenworth big rig. This deliberate design choice created a spiritual connection to classic American trucking culture, most notably Snowman's famous rig from Smokey and the Bandit. This integration of familiar controls enhanced the blue-collar space worker aesthetic that defined Armageddon's working-class heroes. The production designers understood that placing recognizable truck components in a futuristic space vehicle would psychologically ground the audience. The massive steering wheel immediately communicated that this was machinery operated by regular working people, not sleek technology for elite astronauts. It's a perfect example of how the film's design philosophy merged industrial Americana with space exploration, creating a uniquely accessible vision of asteroid mining equipment. Fact 17. Onboard computer screens displayed functioning readouts. Unlike most movie vehicles of the era, which typically featured looping video clips or static images on control panels, the Armadillo's onboard computer screens displayed actual functioning readouts. Industrial Light and Magic's effects team coded custom software that generated real-time drilling data, navigation coordinates, and system diagnostics that responded to the action in each scene. This extraordinary attention to detail went largely unnoticed by mainstream audiences, but created a more immersive environment for the actors. With legitimate data displays surrounding them, cast members could interact naturally with the technology, rather than pretending to read meaningless flashing lights. The functional displays represented hours of additional work for what amounted to background elements. But this commitment to authenticity is precisely what separated the Armadillo from less memorable movie vehicles of the period. Fact 16. Concept artist Nigel Phelps drew from popular mechanics. When developing the Armadillo's distinctive silhouette, lead concept artist Nigel Phelps didn't start from scratch. He immersed himself in vintage copies of popular mechanics and similar publications from the 1950s and 60s, studying their optimistic visions of future space exploration vehicles. This deliberate backward glance at retro-futuristic design created the Armadillo's unique aesthetic, simultaneously old and new, familiar yet exotic. By channeling the golden age of space optimism through a gritty 1990s industrial lens, Phelps developed a vehicle that felt both historically grounded and futuristically capable. The Armadillo's broad stance, exposed mechanical components, and utilitarian approach to space travel all emerged from this marriage of mid-century engineering idealism with late 90s practicality. It's a perfect example of how looking backward sometimes creates the most believable futures. Fact 15. Sound design used real oil drill, noises, and earthquake rumbles. The Armadillo's distinctive audio presence wasn't created through electronic synthesis, but captured from authentic industrial sources. The sound design team spent weeks recording active oil drilling operations throughout Texas, capturing the bone-shaking mechanical roars, hydraulic whines, and metal-on-metal grinding that would define the vehicle's voice. These field recordings were supplemented with seismic rumbles from actual earthquake data, processed to create the sensation of massive weight rolling over unstable asteroid terrain. The commitment to authentic audio sources gave the Armadillo a convincing physical presence that pure digital sound design couldn't match. When combined with strategic in-theater sub-bass frequencies, these organic industrial sounds created a visceral sensation that helped sell the machine's immense scale and power. It's why the Armadillo sounded more convincing than many later CGI vehicles with artificially generated audio profiles. Fact 14. The cockpit was built on a motion platform. While the exterior Armadillo was constructed as a static prop for many scenes, the interior cockpit was built on a sophisticated motion platform that could be operated independently. This engineering solution allowed Michael Bay to create dynamic crash sequences and asteroid impact moments without endangering the cast or damaging the full exterior vehicle. The cockpit motion rig could pitch, roll, and yaw with dramatic intensity, spinning actors during asteroid hit sequences while maintaining complete safety. This separate construction created more convincing performances from the cast, who responded to actual physical movement rather than trying to simulate reactions to imaginary impacts. The hidden infrastructure required to create believable space turbulence was substantial: hydraulic systems, computerized motion control, and reinforced safety harnesses all working in precise coordination to create the illusion of a massive vehicle navigating treacherous terrain. Fact 13. It had 8 simulated rocket thrusters. One of the Armadillo's most visually striking features was its array of 8 rocket thrusters, used for stabilization and maneuvering on the asteroid's low-gravity surface. Rather than relying on post-production effects, these thrusters featured practical lighting and smoke generation systems built directly into the vehicle. The practical effects team created the illusion of rocket propulsion through a combination of powerful internal lighting, precisely controlled smoke release, and subtle air movement that affected nearby dust and debris. The safety considerations were substantial. These systems had to create convincing thruster effects while operating on a set filled with actors and crew. The controlled smoke and lighting combination proved far more effective than early CGI fire alternatives, creating tangible, atmospheric effects that properly illuminated the surrounding environment. This attention to in-camera effects is why the Armadillo's maneuvering sequences maintain their visual impact decades later. Fact 12. The design blends multiple aesthetic influences. The Armadillo's distinctive appearance wasn't drawn from a single design tradition, but represented a deliberate fusion of multiple aesthetic influences. Its fundamental structure combined NASA rover functionality with Cold War-era bunker design, creating a vehicle that felt both scientifically plausible and militarily hardened. This foundation was then enhanced with quintessentially 1990s extreme styling elements: chrome accents, hazard stripes, aggressive angles, and exposed industrial components. The resulting design language created a vehicle that felt simultaneously familiar and exotic, with recognizable elements reassembled into something new. By embedding multiple cultural reference points into a single machine, the designers ensured that audiences would instinctively understand its purpose and capabilities without requiring extensive explanation. This multi-layered approach to vehicle aesthetics is why the Armadillo remains instantly recognizable decades after. Fact 11. Real off-road. Baja Racing Suspension. Technology. Beneath the Armadillo's futuristic exterior lurked authentic off-road racing technology. The vehicle's suspension system wasn't a Hollywood fabrication but incorporated actual components from Baja racing trucks, modified to support the enormous weight of the movie vehicle while maintaining the articulation needed for rough terrain navigation. This use of proven motorsports technology enabled the Armadillo to perform convincing driving stunts despite its massive size. The production team recognized that real-world racing suspension systems, designed to absorb extreme impacts at high speeds, would translate perfectly to a vehicle meant to navigate asteroid fragments and craters. This crossover between competitive motorsports engineering and film practical effects exemplifies Armageddon's commitment to grounding its fantasy in tangible reality. Even in a fictional space scenario, the laws of physics remain constant, and using battle-tested suspension components created movement patterns that felt instinctively correct. Fact 10. The drilling arm could actually rotate and extend. Unlike many movie props that merely suggest functionality, the Armadillo's massive drilling apparatus featured genuine operational capability. Custom hydraulic systems allowed the drilling arm to rotate, extend, and articulate with impressive range and precision during filming. The engineering challenge was substantial, creating working drilling mechanisms that could be safely operated on a crowded film set while maintaining the appearance of industrial-grade asteroid mining equipment. While the drill bit itself couldn't actually chew through stone, it was a lightweight fabrication designed to spin convincingly. Every other aspect of the drilling system functioned mechanically. This practical functionality enhanced the believability of the asteroid operations, allowing actors to interact with responsive machinery rather than pretending to operate static props. The weight, movement, and mechanical limitations of the actual drilling arm influenced how scenes were blocked and shot, grounding the fictional space mining in recognizable physical. Fact 9. One original armadillo still exists. While most massive movie props are dismantled after production wraps, one of the original Armadillo vehicles survived. This fully restored example occasionally appears at specialized movie car conventions and museum exhibitions, giving fans the opportunity to appreciate its enormous scale and intricate detailing up close. The surviving Armadillo represents a tangible piece of film history, a physical connection to one of the most memorable disaster films of the 1990s. Unlike CGI creations that exist only in digital form, this practical effect has an afterlife in fan culture, continuing to impress viewers with its authentic industrial construction and weathered finish. The collector's market for authentic practical effects vehicles has grown substantially in recent years, with screen-used movie cars and specialty vehicles commanding impressive prices at auction. The Armadillo, with its unique place in science fiction vehicle design, remains among the most distinctive surviving. Fact 8. 2 full-scale armadillos were built. The production team constructed 2 complete, full-scale armadillos to accommodate different filming requirements. While visually nearly identical from the exterior, these vehicles featured subtle differences in cockpit layout and mechanical capability, each optimized for specific types of scenes. The primary hero Armadillo was built with a fully detailed interior and functioning control systems for close-up actor shots and dialogue sequences. The second stunt version featured a simplified interior but enhanced drivetrain components for actual driving sequences and more aggressive handling. This dual-vehicle approach represented smart budget efficiency in large-scale practical effects production. By tailoring each machine to specific filming needs rather than building a single, does-everything vehicle, the production maximized screen impact while controlling costs. The differences between the 2 armadillos were kept subtle enough that audiences would never notice the transitions between vehicles. Fact 7. Michael Bay demanded NASA meets NASCAR. Director Michael Bay provided a specific design directive to his production team. The Armadillo should represent NASA meets NASCAR. This seemingly contradictory combination became the guiding philosophy behind the vehicle's distinctive appearance, merging space-worthy engineering with aggressive racing aesthetics. Bay's insistence on chrome plating, racing stripes, and industrial warning graphics reflected his understanding of American automotive culture and its fixation on making everything look fast and powerful. Even a slow-moving drilling platform needed visual elements, suggesting speed and strength to satisfy audience expectations. This cultural obsession with dynamic appearance over understated functionality permeates the Armadillo's design, from its oversized tires to its unnecessarily aggressive lighting configuration. Bay's aesthetic instincts proved correct. The vehicle's hyper-stylized industrial look has remained memorable long after many more realistic screen spacecraft. Fact 6. Built using Caterpillar and Hummer components. Rather than fabricating everything from scratch, the Armadillo incorporated numerous authentic components from commercial heavy equipment manufacturers. The vehicle's fundamental structure utilized modified Caterpillar industrial frames, while many of its drivetrain and suspension elements were sourced directly from military Humvee production lines. This use of proven commercial and military vehicle systems provided several advantages beyond mere cost savings. The authentic industrial muscle gave the Armadillo a genuine mechanical presence that purely theatrical constructions often lack. Real-world engineering solutions, designed for actual extreme environments, enhanced the fictional space machinery's believability. By grounding the fantasy vehicle in proven technology, the production created lasting credibility that helps explain why the Armadillo remains a reference point for practical sci-fi design nearly 3 decades later. I know we're about to discover the most shocking facts about the Armadillo, but I need to tell you something important first. What you're about to learn will completely transform how you view the relationship between Hollywood and actual space exploration. If you're fascinated by how movie technology influences real science, you need to subscribe right now before we reveal these final bombshells. Drop a comment telling me which sci-fi vehicle you think had the biggest impact on real-world engineering. This final revelation about the Armadillo will make you question everything you thought you knew about movie props versus actual space hardware. Fact 5. Each Armadillo weighed over 30,000 pounds. The Armadillo holds the distinction of being one of the heaviest functional movie vehicles ever constructed. Each of the two full-sized units weighed over 30,000 pounds, approximately 15 tons of steel, hydraulics, and industrial components actually driven on camera rather than simulated through effects. This extraordinary weight created a logistical nightmare for the production team. Moving the vehicles between filming locations required specialized heavy equipment transporters, reinforced loading ramps, and careful route planning to avoid damaging ordinary roads. The authentic weight affected every aspect of filming and performance. The massive inertia couldn't be faked, creating genuinely imposing movement patterns that communicated scale and power. This commitment to substantial, practical effects over lightweight alternatives demonstrates why Armageddon's vehicle sequences maintain their impact despite technological advancements in the decades since its release. Fact 4. Fans of Damnation Alley. Notice the strong Landmaster resemblance. Sharp-eyed science fiction enthusiasts immediately recognize the Armadillo's spiritual predecessor, the Landmaster from 1977's post-apocalyptic film Damnation Alley. When questioned about the similarity, Michael Bay acknowledged an probably subconscious influence, having been impressed by the earlier vehicle as a teenager. This connection illustrates how iconic movie vehicles influence each other across generations, creating a genetic lineage of post-apocalyptic and space exploration machinery. The Landmaster's 12-wheel design, articulated body sections, and defensive capabilities clearly inform the Armadillo's fundamental approach to hostile environment traversal. This cross-generational influence demonstrates why certain vehicle archetypes transcend individual films, becoming part of the shared visual language of science fiction. The Armadillo took the Landmaster's survivalist design philosophy and evolved it for space application, maintaining the core DNA while adapting to a new environmental challenge. Fact 3. It influenced later sci-fi vehicles. The Armadillo's impact extended far beyond Armageddon itself, establishing a design template that influenced numerous subsequent science fiction vehicles. Its distinctive industrial aesthetic and practical engineering approach can be seen in the Lunar Rovers of Moon, 2009, the Habitat Crawlers of Interstellar, 2014, and numerous video game and television spacecraft designs. This lasting influence stems from the Armadillo's successful balance of fantasy capabilities with recognizable industrial design elements. By creating a vehicle that felt simultaneously futuristic and familiar, the production established a visual reference point for working-class space machinery. The film's design philosophy, prioritizing functional appearance and industrial authenticity over sleek futurism, elevated the entire genre's approach to utilitarian space vehicles. When filmmakers need to create convincing extraction or mining equipment for hostile environments, the Armadillo remains the standard against which new designs are measured. Fact 2. It sits between NASA reality and 90s action absurdity. The Armadillo perfectly embodies the transitional period of late 1990s blockbuster filmmaking, a time when bigger, louder, and shinier dominated Hollywood aesthetics, but practical effects still reigned supreme. The vehicle manages to capture the excess of the era while maintaining enough technical credibility to feel genuinely plausible. This balance makes the Armadillo a fascinating cultural artifact, representing the peak moment when practical effects achieved their maximum sophistication just before the CGI revolution would fundamentally change how such vehicles would be realized on screen. It exists in a sweet spot between realism and spectacle, with enough genuine engineering to satisfy technical viewers while incorporating sufficient visual drama to excite general audiences. The machine represents the best of both worlds. The authentic mechanical presence of real industrial equipment enhanced with just enough theatrical exaggeration to create an unforgettable screen presence. Fact 1. It was real, and it changed everything. The most astonishing fact about the Armadillo is that it wasn't just movie magic. It was a fully functioning steel and hydraulics colossus built on a genuine heavy-duty drilling chassis. While obviously not space-worthy, It represented a legitimate piece of industrial engineering rather than a hollow facade. This authenticity had profound consequences that extended beyond filmmaking. What few people realize is that the Armadillo's design was so mechanically sound that it actually influenced subsequent NASA projects. Engineers at the space agency, impressed by the vehicle's practical solutions to complex operational problems, incorporated several of its design elements into early concept work for planetary drilling operations. The movie prop literally became a reference point for actual space mission planning, creating a remarkable feedback loop where fiction led science rather than the other way around. This blurring of the line between Hollywood fantasy and space agency reality transformed how both industries approached vehicle design. The Armadillo's lasting impact extends beyond its screen appearance to influence how engineers conceptualize asteroid mining and planetary drilling operations. It stands as powerful evidence that thoughtfully designed fiction can sometimes accelerate real technological development by making abstract concepts tangible and inspiring new approaches to engineering challenges. The journey from Fact 22 to Fact 1 reveals the extraordinary legacy of the Armadillo, from a last-minute naming decision to its role influencing actual space exploration. The vehicle that began as a humble movie prop transcended fiction to become part of the ongoing dialogue between entertainment and engineering. Compare the NASA blueprint inspiration mentioned in our opening hook with the vehicle's eventual influence on real space agency projects, and you'll see how the Armadillo came full circle, from NASA to Hollywood and back again. Which of these 22 facts surprised you most? Was it the real components, the NASA connection, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more deep dives into iconic movie technology, and hit that like button if you appreciate when Hollywood gets the engineering right.